Hello, dear Libra. Let's start with a truth most people aren't ready to hear. You unsettle others simply by existing. You don't have to try, you don't have to speak loudly, and you definitely don't have to seek attention because your very presence disrupts the room in a way that cannot be explained, only felt. There's a quiet, potent light in you, one that exposes what others are still trying to hide from themselves. That's why you've often felt misunderstood, misread, or even avoided. Not because you've done anything wrong, but because you live with a kind of truthfulness that reflects what others haven't yet accepted in themselves. Welcome to Zodiac Whisper Tarot. This isn't just another horoscope reading, this is a mirror. A map. A moment of awakening that you were guided to, not by chance, but by alignment. You being here right now means that something inside you is stirring. A voice. A whisper. A memory of your real essence, asking to be seen again. So let me ask you. Have you ever walked into a room and felt the atmosphere shift without knowing why? Have you noticed how people react to your silence more than to someone else's noise? And most of all, have you ever questioned why your softness seems to bother those who've learned to survive with hardness? Libra, your balance is powerful. Your calm is disruptive. And your authenticity is revolutionary. In a world addicted to loudness and ego, you walk in like a sacred pause. A living contradiction. A graceful force that brings the mirror too close for comfort. You don't preach, you don't push. But your energy insists that others either elevate or step away. That's why you're here. To remember that this quiet force inside you isn't a flaw, it's your divine design. And as we begin this soul reading together, I want to pause and say this. Thank you. Thank you deeply for being here. For choosing to spend these few minutes with me. For every comment, every like, every share, every subscription, you're not only joining the Zodiac Whisper Tarot family, you're helping us bring this kind of healing wisdom to more people who desperately need it. Let me remind you. You didn't come here to blend in. You came here to bring harmony into chaos. To be the whisper that interrupts the noise. To show that quiet doesn't mean weak, quiet can shake the ground. So stay with me until the end of this message, because what the universe is revealing today is nothing short of transformational. You're not here by accident. And I promise what you're about to hear might change how you see yourself, forever. Before we move forward, tell me something, my loyal Libras. What was it that led you here today? What stirred inside you and whispered, "Watch this"? Leave a comment below to confirm your connection with this message. Type 777 if you feel something awakening already. Let the universe see your hand raised. Now, let's go deeper. You're ready. Most people are drawn to fire and noise, to loudness mistaken for power. But Libra, your energy tells a very different story. You don't demand attention, you invite awareness. The moment you walk into a room, there's a subtle shift that others feel but cannot explain. Something stills. Something recalibrates. People may not even notice what changed, but they start to speak a little softer, breathe a little slower, or listen a little deeper. You don't do this deliberately. It's simply who you are. And in a world that thrives on chaos, that kind of presence can feel like both a relief and a disruption. You're not here to dazzle with spectacle. You're here to stir souls in silence. There's a reason your stillness feels so powerful. It's because true strength doesn't need to perform. Your quietude carries weight. It holds space for what's real. It confronts people with what they haven't resolved in themselves. While others seek to control attention, your gift is in how naturally it flows to you without asking. And this confuses many. Some feel drawn to you and don't understand why. Others feel uncomfortable and think it's your fault. But it's not. It never has been. They're simply feeling the truth you represent, and they don't yet know how to sit with it. You carry a frequency that vibrates differently than most. In a sense, you're like a tuning fork for authenticity. People can feel where they're out of tune when they're near you. And because of that, some may instinctively retreat. Don't let that create doubt in you. Don't take their discomfort personally. In fact, that's how you'll know your energy is working as intended. Not to provoke, but to awaken. Not to challenge, but to correct gently, just by existing. This is not about superiority. It's about alignment. You're aligned with a certain kind of inner integrity that's rare. And because it's rare, it feels unfamiliar to most. But unfamiliar doesn't mean wrong. What you bring is what many have forgotten. They long for honesty without harshness, clarity without control, love without demand. And because they don't yet know how to receive it, their first response might be resistance. There's something profoundly healing about your way of being. You don't push. You don't invade. But your energy asks questions people haven't dared to answer. Are you being true to yourself? Is this really who you are? And even without words, your presence encourages a pause, a reevaluation, a possibility that life could be different if only they could live more like you do, with elegance, intention, and grace. People may not always say thank you. Some may even blame you for how they feel. But deep down, a seed gets planted. And in time, they will remember the moment they met someone who didn't need to overpower the room to shift it. That someone was you. So if you've been wondering why your quiet strength seems to shake people or why you often feel like an emotional trigger for others, remember this: your presence is not the problem. It's the mirror. And while not everyone likes what they see at first, mirrors are sacred tools. They help us realign. Even scripture gently reminds us to walk humbly, to be still, to let our light shine without shouting. And isn't that exactly what you've been doing all along? You weren't made to dim your light, Libra. You were made to redefine how light can exist in stillness, in balance, in beauty. And that's exactly what makes you unforgettable. There's something deeply powerful about being someone who doesn't need to point out anyone's flaws, yet causes others to see them anyway. Libra, that's you. Your gift isn't in confronting people with hard truths through harsh words, it's in how your very presence reflects back to others the contrast between who they are and who they pretend to be. Without a single accusation, without raising your voice, you create a kind of mirror. Not one that distorts, but one that reveals. And for some, that's more than they're ready to handle. When someone lives out of alignment with their true self, they instinctively react to the presence of someone who lives with inner clarity. That's why your gracefulness stirs something inside people. They might not even understand why they feel defensive around you. But it's because they see in you what they've lost in themselves: kindness without expectation, strength without domination, and presence without performance. It makes them question how far they've drifted from their own integrity, and that discomfort, while sacred, can feel threatening at first. You are someone who holds on to values, not for appearance, but because you believe in them. Fairness, honesty, respect, these aren't performance traits for you, they're natural. And in a world where many have traded their values for convenience or image, encountering someone like you creates an unspoken reckoning. Your calm becomes a challenge. Your composure becomes a question. Not because you impose anything, but because you remind people of a version of themselves they've buried, perhaps long ago. This is why you often walk into situations and find others reacting to you in unexpected ways. Some will instantly feel safe and seen in your energy. Others may become defensive or distant. The difference isn't about you, it's about where they are in their own journey. Some are ready to be reminded of who they are. Others are still clinging to the masks that protect their wounded parts. And your existence, in its quiet integrity, makes those masks feel tight and uncomfortable. It's important that you don't carry guilt for this. Just because someone feels uncomfortable around you doesn't mean you're doing something wrong. In fact, it might be a sign you're doing everything right. You become a living invitation for transformation, not by fixing anyone, but by being so fully yourself that it awakens something long buried in them. You see, people don't change because they're told to. They change because something in them is moved gently, deeply, and undeniably. And often, it's not grand gestures that move them. It's the subtle things, a look that sees without judgment, a silence that speaks louder than noise, a presence that says, "There's another way to be," without ever needing to explain it. This is why your gift as a Libra is so needed. You're not here to shout your truth from the rooftops. You're here to embody it. To walk in it. To offer it as a quiet alternative to the chaos. It's not always easy, and it's rarely acknowledged in the moment. But over time, your energy has a ripple effect. You plant seeds just by being near others. And when the time is right, those seeds begin to grow. Remember, you don't have to explain your values to everyone. You don't have to justify your softness, your elegance, or your refusal to play the loudest voice in the room. You don't exist to make others comfortable, you exist to offer them contrast. To remind them, even if only for a moment, of what authenticity looks like in motion. Keep being the mirror. Keep being the invitation. And trust that your light, even the silent kind, does more than you'll ever fully see. Not everyone is ready to accept that a life lived with grace, clarity, and quiet integrity is still possible. But Libra, that's exactly what your presence reminds people of. You don't walk through the world preaching your values, you embody them. You are the living proof that kindness doesn't have to be loud to be powerful, that honesty doesn't need to cut to be true, and that balance is not an ideal, it's a choice. And because you've chosen to live that way, your existence becomes a silent invitation for others to reconsider how they're living. What makes this energy so impactful is that you don't demand change from anyone. You simply reflect what is possible when someone chooses to align their life with beauty and integrity. That's why people react to you, even when you haven't said a word. Your calmness unsettles those who are consumed by chaos. Your natural politeness feels like a challenge to those who wear aggression like armor. And your emotional neutrality can be misunderstood by those who equate drama with depth. But don't let these reactions confuse you. Their discomfort is not your fault, it's the beginning of something stirring inside them. Sometimes the soul resists before it recognizes what it truly needs. You may have noticed people projecting strange labels onto you. Cold. Too rational. Detached. And yet, none of those words truly describe the emotional depth you carry. You feel deeply, but you process those emotions in your own sacred rhythm. You respond with discernment rather than impulse. That's not coldness. That's maturity. And in a world addicted to reaction, your presence reminds others of a better way, one where people breathe before they speak, where love is expressed with stability instead of extremes, and where truth walks quietly but powerfully through the noise. You've likely felt the pressure to soften your presence to make others more comfortable. To blend in just enough that your light doesn't feel too exposing. But you weren't created to live in fragments. You weren't designed to be palatable. You were made whole, and the universe works best through you when you show up as all of who you are without dilution, without apology. The reality is, people need your full energy more than they know. They need your balance when things fall apart. They need your steadiness when everything feels uncertain. And they need your inner wisdom when noise threatens to drown out clarity. There is a quiet lesson often whispered in the most sacred teachings, that humility doesn't mean shrinking, it means standing tall with grace. Being humble doesn't mean hiding your light to avoid attention. It means allowing that light to shine without arrogance, trusting that it was given to you for a reason. And Libra, your light has a very specific frequency, one that doesn't scream, but heals. One that doesn't push, but uplifts. And one that doesn't entertain, but transforms. Your role is not to fit in, it's to hold space for what's possible. You are not here to meet others where they are comfortable. You are here to remind them of what they've forgotten, that living beautifully isn't a fantasy, it's a decision. That harmony isn't just a concept, it's a way of being. And that truth, when embodied with quiet conviction, speaks louder than any performance ever could. Keep showing up as your whole self. Keep letting your energy speak without explanation. Some will be drawn to it, others will resist, but all will be moved. And those who are meant to walk alongside you will recognize your light for what it is, not a threat, but a gentle revolution in the shape of a soul. Sometimes, the most powerful energies are the ones that don't announce themselves. They don't shout to be seen or rush to be validated. They simply exist, firm, quiet, undeniable. Libra, that's the essence of your divine design. You weren't meant to shine through intensity, but through calm clarity. You radiate not by force, but by presence. And in this particular season of your life, the symbols surrounding your energy are calling you to honor this deeper truth more than ever. The High Priestess, a tarot archetype of deep inner wisdom, subtle perception, and sacred stillness, has emerged in your field for a reason. She does not speak unless her words hold purpose. She does not move unless there's alignment. Like her, your energy holds the ability to shift entire environments without lifting a finger. That's not something to downplay. It's something to develop with grace. You're being reminded right now that silence doesn't mean absence. Stillness doesn't mean weakness. And intuition, when honored, becomes your greatest navigation system in a world drowning in noise. In numerology, the number 7 governs seekers, mystics, and those whose journeys are often internal before they're external. It resonates with refinement, solitude, insight, and trust in timing. You may not always feel understood, but you are divinely attuned to see what others miss. Your timing is precise. Your senses are acute. And your life moves not at the speed of pressure, but at the rhythm of depth. That number appearing now isn't just coincidence, it's confirmation that the quieter you are, the more you hear. The softer your steps, the more sacred the impact. Your colors pearl green and soft metallic silver aren't just aesthetically pleasing. They carry frequencies. Green pearl speaks of healing, growth, and inner rebirth. It's a color of grace under tension and beauty under pressure. Silver reflects the moon's wisdom, subtle, shifting, intuitive, and always watching even when not speaking. Wearing or surrounding yourself with these tones helps reinforce your natural gifts. They don't make you more, they help remind you of what you already are. When it comes to your body, balance is everything. You're more sensitive than most to the invisible clutter in both your mind and environment. That's why daily moments of stillness through meditation, breath work, or simple silence act as a reset button for your nervous system. Supplements like zinc and B12 aren't just helpful for physical wellness, they also support mental clarity and emotional regulation. When your inner chemistry is balanced, your outer radiance becomes effortless. In your career, there may be pressure to conform, to brand yourself as something palatable to the masses. But conformity is not your soul's path. Your influence grows not when you follow the trends, but when you stay anchored in your values. Let your reputation be built on consistency, discernment, and elegant integrity. The right people will recognize your worth not because you shouted for attention, but because your energy spoke louder than your voice ever needed to. Financially, now is not the time to act from fear or impulse. Instead, let your intuition guide you to opportunities others overlook. You don't need the loudest investment, just the one that feels quietly aligned. Sometimes, the door that opens without a sound is the one that leads to the most abundance. And in love, this may be the most important reminder of all: you don't have to tone yourself down to be loved. The right heart will never ask you to shrink. You don't have to earn a place in someone's life by being more agreeable, more accessible, or more entertaining. Real love recognizes real energy. And the soul who is meant for you will be drawn not to your volume, but to your essence. So keep showing up. Keep trusting your stillness. Keep letting the quiet power within you shape your world from the inside out. You're not here to chase light. You are here to be it. Dear Libra, if you've made it this far, it's no coincidence. Something inside you was meant to hear this message. And maybe, just maybe, a part of you is beginning to remember who you truly are, not the version you've been pressured to become, not the edited version you've offered to keep others comfortable, but the quiet, radiant, wise soul that was never meant to be hidden. You don't owe anyone an explanation for your presence. You don't need to soften your truth to make others feel safe. And you certainly don't need to apologize for the way your light illuminates what others haven't yet faced within themselves. You weren't made to be palatable. You were made to be powerful in a subtle, steady, unmistakable way that only Libra can be. You are the bridge between emotion and reason, between chaos and calm, between who people think they are and who they're meant to become. Your energy doesn't just shift rooms, it awakens them. And yes, that awakening can be uncomfortable for others. But that discomfort is not yours to fix. It is a sign that your presence is doing exactly what it was sent here to do. So I ask you now, in what ways have you been shrinking to fit into spaces that were never built for someone like you? What parts of yourself have you been holding back, just to avoid being labeled as too much, too distant, or too different? And most importantly, are you ready to stop hiding? Take a breath. Let this moment be the one where you choose to stop editing yourself. Where you allow your presence to be enough. Where you claim your space in the world without guilt, without permission, without fear. And if you feel this message speaking directly to your spirit, I invite you to affirm it out loud, or better yet, comment below. I allow myself to shine without apology. That declaration isn't just for me. It's for you. It's a signal to your future self that you are ready to show up fully. That your light no longer needs to dim itself to feel accepted. From the bottom of my heart, thank you for being here. Thank you for watching, for receiving, for being part of this sacred space. Every comment, every like, every subscription brings you closer to the energy of this growing soul-centered community at Zodiac Whisper Tarot. Your presence fuels this work. And your support allows us to bring these healing, transformative messages to more people who need them. Trust me, Libra, you're going to want to stay close in the days ahead. The energy shifting around you is profound. What the universe is preparing you for next will require the fullness of your light, not a fraction of it. So don't shrink. Don't explain. Don't dim. Stay. Expand. Be seen. And tell me in the comments what inside you brought you here today. What part of this message stirred something deep within? Because that's where your next chapter begins.